But let me give you some update as to what we've been doing since we saw each other last in Barcelona. As Paul mentioned, all the work we're doing is focusing on our role as that global authority for precious metals, setting standards and driving integrity and transparency. And I think to summarize the last 12 months, we've probably had about 50% doing the work, setting the standards, getting the engagement, and another 50% telling people about that. Because in terms of adding value for you as the industry, we need to have global input recognition, and we need to make sure that the regulators, the clients, understand the value and the high standards that we set. So I'll give you some highlights on what we've been up to for the last little while. And there's really two key focuses. The first is responsible sourcing. I think, as Paul mentioned, we've launched the live public consultation on version 8. Now, I'm the lady who was involved in drafting version 1, which we launched in 2012. And I can say for all of those involved, we really wanted to have the environment for day one, but I think recognize it was a little ambitious at the time. But looking back, I think now is the perfect time to do so, because we have a mature system, and also we have real engagement from the producers. Because ultimately, if you're trying to have standards that address the environment with real credibility, you've got to be working with the guys who are digging out of the ground. So we're really grateful to everyone who's supported that work, and looking forward to launching that next year. The other main focus of this work is how can technology help make the work more efficient for the people doing it, so the refiners, the producers, but also more transparent to the end users who are buying the metal. And this has been part of what we call our Gold Bar Integrity Project. Sakila Mirza is going to tell you a lot more in detail in her session tomorrow morning. Encourage you to go and have a listen to that, ask your questions. But I did want to say a thank you to everyone who's been involved in this. The response has been huge. The providers, in terms of coming up with very interesting ideas, but the amount of people excited and engaged in the working groups. This has been the usual suspects, of course, but actually we've gone far beyond that, and it really is a testimony to that people are seeing value of what we're trying to achieve as an industry. I also had the privilege of attending my first large-scale mine, thanks to Newmont for hosting us in Colorado, and I was really struck not just by the scale. I'm pretty tall, and I only go up halfway to one of these tires on these big earth-moving machines. And to literally see a mountain being moved from here to there is incredible. But I was also struck by the commitment by Newmont to how they work with the community, how they look to leave the site better than they found it. And there's an enormous amount of work being done on producers, and has been done, to address these sustainability, community, and environmental issues. And my real hope is that with working together on version 8 and how we take this forward, we can communicate with one voice that the industry takes these things seriously and set high standards to make sure we're bringing everybody else up with us. So thanks to them. I would also say, if you have never visited a mine, it's not a Newmont large scale, but you actually have a virtual reality tour that's happening, Journey of Gold, just to the left of the conference room today. So you can go in and see a mine in Congo. Now, again, this has been a big landmark achievement. We actually have responsibly sourced artisanal gold coming out of Congo, and it's many congratulations to the US State Department, to civil society, and to the industry players who, for the past 6 years, have really been working hard to bring this to fruition. So please go have a look and take part. It really is a big achievement. That's really responsible sourcing. I'm going to move us on to the transparency part. Last year, we launched for the first time the gold and silver holdings. And I think, as Ray was saying, other than Fort Knox, London is the largest hoard in the world of gold. And we're happy to make those numbers transparent. It's the most highly visited web page on the LBMA's site, and it now comes out as a matter of course, which, given the 300 years of the market, this was a big achievement. The focus this year is we're launching trade reporting data, and I'm happy to commit to a live launch on the 20th of November. I want to say a thank you to all of those banks and market makers who have been engaged and who have been actively submitting data. And I'm really delighted to say we have full dedication to the 20th of November. I think no one's more excited about getting those numbers out other than me, though perhaps David Gornall, who's been leading the project on our side. So please tune in for the webinar, and I'm sure in all the engagement as we go forward, we'll be talking about those numbers as this data set continues. For those of you who haven't been as involved, that's Local London, Local Zurich, spot, forward, and options trading. And it really will be a landmark moment when we get the data out. So thanks for everyone doing the work. As I said, that moves us into the communication side of life. I hope you've seen us sort of lift our game a little bit when it comes to how we communicate with you guys, but also how we reach to the industry and the world outside. I was really happy to see this year, we have more delegates here in Boston than we did in Barcelona, not just in the room because there's not a beach outside, but also in terms of non-members. We have a lot of new faces who this is their first LBMA conference. So I'm happy that the communications team have been really successful in reaching out to people who weren't there normally. So thanks for coming along. Hopefully it's not your first and only. And I have to say a personal thank you to John Spall. He's been a driving force as our head of communications towards all this work, and we're very grateful to everything he's done with it. As Paul mentioned, we also have quite a lot of publications where we've dedicated to have further transparency. Board minutes are published, the evaluation of the board is published, our annual review, it's a great way to get a quick snapshot of what we're all about. So please have a look at all of those things. The other thing we focused on with board is strategically, we're a global authority, but just how global are we really? I would say in terms of the standards work, particularly good delivery, there's no argument, this is a global standard. But when it comes to the membership, we still have a real focus on Europe, on the UK, and given the growth in key jurisdictions, particularly in China, this is something that we want to address. We've started in terms of encouraging members that they can become, or non-members to become members. They don't have to have a branch necessarily in London. We actually changed that a few years back. But we've been thinking more strategically of how we can ensure that we bring Asia into the global scene, help their development, but also help their engagement within the market. In terms of films, we have a fourth one coming out, and that has to do with this going global idea. Next year, we celebrate 100 years of the gold price. But really the focus is on the next 100 years. And I think one thing that really surprised me, even in some of my chats when I was reaching to investors, not everyone knew that we've had this really big changes of governance and participation with the gold price. I think those of us who've lived and breathed what has been the last 4 years are highly aware. We take it as a good point that you didn't notice any change. But the good news is we have independent governance, but we also have much enhanced participation. We have 3 Chinese banks who take part daily in gold and silver, and we want that number to continue to grow. So in terms of how we're meaningfully going to address this in terms of going to Asia, I'm happy to announce that we're going to Shenzhen in 2019, and delighted to be working with the Shanghai Gold Exchange towards that event. Please mark your calendars and hope to see you all there next year. But I think the focus is not just about having a conference there and thinking that's job done in terms of outreach to Asia. We also have an Asian representative, Jeremy East, who's here. We're building that team as we look to have an ongoing enhanced engagement within the region and making sure that there's global adoption of these standards that we're working for, not just on good delivery, but things like precious metals code and trade reporting. So more on this space, but look forward to seeing you all in Shenzhen. I think that's really the summary of the work we've been up to. As I said, go see Sakila's session if you want to get more into the devil of the detail. Now we're going to talk about your opportunities to win some precious metals. There's never been more opportunities. So for the speakers, you still have the opportunity to win a gold Krugerrand, kindly donated by Rands. And you have the opportunity to win 4 other precious metals, which is donated by PAMP. One is the activity feed. If you're worried that Sequila is winning the activity feed, please don't be. My staff is not allowed to win. They get a different prize, so it's internal, so that's what she's going for. But you guys can still win the prize, so please get involved in that app. I think we've warned you a bunch of times, but I'm about to do voting, so if you haven't opened it up, please do. There's also the LBMA Big Quiz, there's a scavenger hunt, and there's all sorts of opportunities on Twitter, etc. So we've been running some polls as you open your app to see, one, to get people using it and to see who we've got in the room and what the feedback is. I think the first, in terms of, are you a Boston Red Sox fan, which, given the international audience, I'm very proud to have 45%. I think that's great. Hopefully we didn't lose a few of you with the fire alarm last night. Again, sorry. And the other is, what are you looking forward to in terms of sessions that are upcoming? I'm hoping opening session is delivering on expectations so far, but there's more to come with our keynotes. I think Neil Harvey's got some work to do to get more people excited about the refiner session. I can confidently confirm that given the controversial personalities on the stage, I'm sure that the discussion will be quite lively, so don't miss that one. But let's do some live voting. I know that there's a lot of non-members here, but it'd be good to have what sector of the precious metals market do you represent? So if you can please put in your answers now. I think people are still opening. We can keep letting it run. It's moving, so people are still voting. Wow. I think it's settling down a little bit there. I mean, one of the major differences is we're really delighted to have so many people from the official sector. I think at last count, we had 33 central bankers attending the conference. And that's a huge change for LBMA, even just from last year. Certainly, refiners are still leading, not as much perhaps as they were in previous years, but it's definitely been a shift over time in terms of usually that top line with commercial banks would go all the way across. So there's definitely been some changes afoot, as you're probably very aware of. If we can take it to the next poll. So why are you here? This actually helps us in terms of how we schedule the program itself. So is it the wisdom emanating from the platform? Is it networking opportunities? Or are you just in it for the LBMA dinner entertainment? You know, don't be shy. If it's 3, don't be scared. I won't be offended. But if we can get some feedback, that would be great. I think that's what we expected to be, but very flattered that the dinner entertainment got a little bit of vote, so thank you guys out there for that. I think networking, I'll see you guys in the bar later. Next question in terms of the gold price forecast. So we have put a range on this, so you can't put anything over 2,500 or anything too low. But if you could please start voting now in terms of what the gold forecast will be when we meet again in Shenzhen on the Monday of the conference. Hopefully that's working. People are debating on their exact price. Okay, unfortunately you have to come back tomorrow if you want to find out what that number is. Sorry guys. And also to see if we've changed your minds over the course of the next day and a half. Okay, I think that leaves me just to say a big thank you to all of you for your support of the LBMA's work, as well as your attendances here today. I wish you an excellent conference and look forward to seeing you over the next few days. Thank you.